with a remarkable, yes, a remarkable journey. And I've just been blessed to be a part of that. That began in 1987 for her. She has risen to prominence as an acclaimed TEDx, speaker, seasoned trainer, and a thought leader of international recognition. In this ever-evolving landscape of professional development, Carole has seamlessly transitioned to the virtual realm as a virtual presenter on platforms like Google, Zoom, and others. She remains at the forefront of emerging trends, keeping a vigilant eye, and I can really attest to that, a vigilant eye on the concerns and challenges faced by working professionals, and her consultancy work with the industry leaders reflects her dedication to staying ahead of the curve. Help me welcome my friend, Carole Copeland Thomas.
Ann McNeill, love you much. Thank you so very much for that wonderful introduction. I am super excited to be with all of you today. And I want to make sure that we're in agreement. This is going to be a real conversation just based on the world that we're in. I don't expect you to take sides. I don't expect you to endorse anybody tonight, but I want you to understand the importance of your commitment to civic engagement just based on all of the experiences that we are involved in. I've known Ann a long time. Ann is such a great champion of positivity and vision. I've been a part of her mastermind groups. I'm a part of a conversation that she has every Tuesday morning. I think, Doretha, you're also a part of that group as well. And so my admiration just goes on and on for this woman of faith and action. And I want to help you to gain clarity as it relates to your responsibility and your accountability to the word civic and what it means, particularly in terms of what we're facing now. Please take notes if you like. I have written up this as an article that I'm going to be distributing to my members who are part of my newsletter group, and I'll be happy to forward this to you if you'd like to. You can perhaps put your name in the chat and your email address, and I'll make sure to send that on to you. But there are 7 things I want to share with you. I think I only have like 15 minutes or so, so I'm going to run through this quickly. There's 7 things that I want you to think about as you are finding your voice in a politically charged society. I don't have to tell you what we're going through right now. I'm in the state of Massachusetts, and our primary literally is today. And some of you are in states where your primaries have either happened already or they will be happening sometime. Your primary elections will happen sometime this month. And then we all had, those of us who are in the United States, I know you have an international audience, but those who are in the US, we are heading for our general election, deciding on our president on November 5th, which is like 2 months from now, September, October, like 2 months, very, very close at hand. And I want you to be able to develop a strategy for your conversations as various topics come up. That's what I want to talk to you about. And I think the first thing I'd like to do is just to give you a simple definition of civic and what that means, since that's what I'm going to be talking about. I looked it up, and I'm looking at something that is related to the duties or the activities of people in relation to their town, their city, or their local area. And it can go beyond that. So it could be your state area, it could be your county, it could be the federal level that we are involved in right now. It can be international. But it's a matter of your involvement with these activities so that, in my instance, when I'm thinking about clarity, so that you can address issues from a pragmatic point of view where you can represent your true self. So let me start off with the number one of these 7 issues. Number one is it is very important for you to know the facts. Now, I know we have language that's bantering around about fake facts or fake news or whatever, but I'm specifically talking to you about the importance of understanding the facts, whatever the facts happen to be. We have access to the internet, and so there are countless ways where you can download data, where you can look at demographic issues. Here we're talking about business. My goodness, there are so many business data points that are very important in our lives. The inflation rate, we can see it going up and down, what the Federal Reserve is talking about in terms of raising or lowering the interest rates. So, I mean, we are in a data-driven world right now. And with that said, not only is it important for you to understand the facts and the data, but it's a matter of you documenting things in a way so that you can either substantiate or question some of the statistics and some of the information that is passing your way. Now, in terms of the presidential election, we know that we have polls that go up and down. We have state polls, we have local polls, we have lots of polls that we could look at. There is one website that you may want to consider when you're looking at polls, and the website is called I think it's the 538 website. I believe it's 538. Let me look really quickly to make sure that I'm giving you the correct information. I'm looking it up right now so that I can, yeah, it is, yeah, it's 538. So it's written out 538.com. You can do a Google search for that. And that will point you to a website that's started by a very interesting person. He's a numbers guy in terms of loving numbers. He also has pretty good luck in Las Vegas. That's another side of him. But the political landscape tends to use his website just to substantiate all the various polls that are taking place around the United States. Now, this is not just for president. It could be local polls in your state. It could be polls in a particular region, and typically they're fairly accurate. So that would be one source to go to. There are many other sources, but I thought that would be one just to mention to you, the 538 website, and they will give you a number of different polls. What I do now when I hear someone who is running for office, maybe they're running for Senate, and I'm hearing what they're saying with the interview, then I can go to this website and I can see how are they doing in terms of, are they ahead of their opponent? Are they behind? That may substantiate the kind of language that they're using. So that's just one example, but just know your facts, know them to the point where you can go to the source and you can help others to go to a respective source as these kind of conversations come up, either for an election, either for ballot questions, etc. Number two is don't overtalk others. We have a tendency in our country now, particularly in the US, especially if we're in a heated conversation, we're talking about a particular issue, and we can often cut someone off mid-sentence, voice our opinions, and that can be rude. It can be not very courteous, and it can also fuel the other person to react in a way that will disintegrate the conversations that you're in. Now, I know that various news organizations and the pundits or the anchor persons are trained to cut off conversations and move to another question, especially if they're under a time constraint. I understand all that. But as much as possible, if you can hold off on your comments, let the other person speak, then you can have equal time to make your argument known or to make your presence known. Sometimes you have to listen very hard and conscientiously, I have to do this, conscientiously not say anything until the person has finished talking. So be careful in terms of over talking and cutting someone off mid-sentence. Number 3 is we have to agree to disagree. Now, a few months ago, I served as the interim chief diversity officer for Curry College here in the greater Boston area. I did that in addition to my business activities. It was a successful assignment. I concluded it and ended it in December of last year. And the previous president, they have a new president now, but the previous president made a point. We actually went back and forth, just bantering back and forth because he wanted to make sure that with my assignment on that college campus, that the faculty, the students, the administration members understood the importance of, he was calling it diversity of thought. And once I understood where he was coming from, I translated that to agree to disagree, which is something I use all the time. When you are in conversations with friends, colleagues, etc., it really is important to establish some level of agreement in terms of how the conversation will go forward, or if the conversation just comes up sporadically, you can have in mind the importance of agreeing to disagree. If a person hears you that way, they may be more receptive to hearing what you have to say instead of getting the impression that it's your way or the highway, or you're just discounting everything the other person is saying without establishing some kind of criteria where you are agreeing to disagree. And in the world of diversity, that is paramount. It is as important as the word equity that is under complete attack right now. So helping you to understand how to agree to disagree will amplify your message and hopefully give you a better runway as you're talking to people who are on the other side, because they have more respect for you because how you are respecting their opinion. I live in Lakeville, Massachusetts, outside of Boston. And my neighborhood in this town is very, very Republican. I see the Trump signs. I see the trash the Trump or the dump, the drain the swamp signs. There's a big Trump sign up the street. I am a Democrat. I'm probably a centrist Democrat. I've been an independent, and I flirted with the idea of becoming a Republican in the 1990s. So I know what the landscape looks like. And I say that because I have a neighbor across the street, a great person. He is a millionaire. He's done very well. He's relatively young, has a wonderful family. And we just are on different camps. We see things differently. And he is a pretty staunch Republican. I don't think he's a Trump Republican, but we've had conversations knowing that there's going to be a level of disagreement, but we do things in a respectful manner so that the conversation can go forward and proceed. Hopefully that'll make sense to you. So agreeing to disagree and having these kind of conversations, particularly on the job, can be very helpful to you. Number 4 is to watch events live or watch the recording. Way too often, we get information third hand. We're sitting at the lunch table, or you're at a cocktail party, or you're talking to somebody at the water cooler, and you're getting information, you're hearing information in a way that may be distorted, it may be inaccurate, or it may not have all the facts that need to be in place. So, because of the wonderful age of YouTube that we have, you can watch things as a recording. You don't have to watch things live. You may also, with the debate that's taking place next week on September 10th, go to C-SPAN and watch it live on C-SPAN. They will have no pundits on there. They will just shoot it live. You'll be able to watch it I'm pretty sure it's going to be on C-SPAN. I know that the both Democratic and the convention and the Republican convention were both on C-SPAN. I watched both conventions on C-SPAN. So do what you can to watch things either live or watch the recording. And better still, download the transcript if it's available so that if something was said that you weren't quite sure of, you can go and look at the transcript, see how things were written, and that will help you to form a better opinion. Number 5 is to watch your emotions and don't fall for the bait. There are people out there, they will manipulate what you have said, make you angry, make you lose your cool, and then unfortunately, they're controlling the conversation and not you. I give an example in this document that I'll be happy to send to you. And the example is a person saying, I'm going to be voting for X person, whoever the person happens to be, because they are going to be more responsible and they will help to save America. And the response on the other side is, oh, you're just a leftist. Why don't you just go back to your home country? If you take that kind of response on face value and just on the level, you may become very angry because of what the person has said and how the person has actually put that kind of language out there. Instead of holding back and saying, ah, so you're saying I'm a leftist, and you're also saying I should go back to my home country. What do you mean by that? And having that kind of conversation with someone will put a person on the spot where sometimes they won't know what to say. I'll give you another example where you can also be on the offense and not the defense if that happens. A couple of years ago, my daughter was driving into a parking space with her local shopping center. And there was a very upset man, he was white, who just was yelling at everybody. He was in his car, she was in her car, and he started calling the N-word. He called my daughter the N-word, he called other people the N-word. I mean, he was just belligerent. Well, my daughter is a trained psychologist. She has a doctorate in that area, and she's pretty bold. And so she called me. We had a conversation. She ended up discussing what the man had said when he came out of the store. She realized he had gone into a store. He came out of the store, and she said, you know, you called me the N-word. Why did you do that? This is true. They had a 10 or 15-minute conversation. She videotaped it, or she actually got him on camera. He apologized to her about 3 times for what he had said. Now, had she jumped at him and called him something back instead of asking him from a point of curiosity why he said that, she wouldn't have gotten anything from him. But she said it in a very respectful way, and he ended up apologizing to her. His facts were all mixed up. She could tell that, but at least she had the satisfaction that he respected her enough to apologize. So you never know how these kind of reverse conversations can happen unless you try it in a way where you do put people on the spot where they have to own up to what they're saying. Number 6, and I'll take your questions afterward, is stay principled and maintain your integrity. Stay principled and maintain your integrity. Now, we know that people are people, politicians are politicians, people who are running for elected office, they're human. They make mistakes. They say things out of line. They do things that maybe you don't agree with. Maybe they've done something, had a judgment where it's not necessarily popular. But I want you to look beyond that point, and I want you to look as often as possible into the integrity of the people you are voting for. And if you can't find enough to say, I vouch for this person because this person stands for my principles and my guidelines, and this person is going to help me economically. They're going to help my family. They're going to help my community, etc. If you can't say those words about the people you are voting for, then maybe you need to think about who you're voting for. And maybe you need to step away from the crowd, the noise, what your dad or your mom or your family, what they're saying. And you need to decide who are you going to vote for based on levels of integrity, honesty, etc., so that you can sleep at night because of who you vote for. And I'll leave it at that because you can draw your own conclusions about what I'm talking about there. And then number 7 is to find the right moment and the right opportunity to speak up and stand up for your beliefs. We are in very perilous times. And based on who is voted into office, who wins the election in November, we are going to have starkly different futures based on who's running for office. Now, I'm doing a whole series with my podcast, Conversations with Carole, on Project 2025. And I encourage you, I'll put the URL in the chat when I finish, but I encourage you to check it out. I've done 2 podcasts already on the Department of Education being eliminated based on Project 2025. I just did a podcast on part 1 for chapter 14 of Project 2025, which will invasively deal with controlling women's bodies. And I talk about the language. I literally read from the document to help explain my point. So you can go on and take care of that yourself. But it is so important for you to develop your speech, figure out what you're going to say, because you never believe the people who are being influenced by you based on what you're saying. And if you can have a cogent mindset of how you're dealing with issues, you not only can help with clarity, but you can also help other individuals with their clarity. Last point that I'll say is that I was a member of the Society of Human Resource Management. That's a big organization and maybe 300,000 members, mostly HR professionals, because in my world with diversity, people who hire me are primarily in human resources. I just had someone to confirm a date today, and that individual is in human resources. So that's who principally hires me. And so I have belonged to that international organization because of that close alliance. I currently belong to my regional SHRM organization and not the national. And I won't renew my dues for the national because they recently took the word equity out of their platform. They had their reasons for doing that, but I said, wait a minute, HR, and we're talking about the importance and the validity of equity and giving people the resources that they need to get ahead. And this large organization is taking that away. So it sparked a lot of conversations. I actually am going to participate with the DEI group tonight at 8:30, and we're talking about this whole issue. People are writing letters about it, and there are individuals who are not renewing their membership because of that instance. If you don't understand the pretext, and if you don't have clarity on the importance of equity, in my instance, you can be persuaded that the word civility, which is the word they're using now, is an equal representation for equity, and it's not. It is not. So my point to you in closing is you have to understand these 7 points in terms of knowing your facts, making sure you don't overtalk individuals, agreeing to disagree, watching events live or watching the recording, Watch your own emotions. Don't fall for the bait that people are trying to trap you into. Staying principled and maintaining your level of integrity, and then finding the right moments to speak up and stand up for your beliefs. If you practice that and work on that, just like you've worked with the 28 or 30 days that you found wonderful parks in your particular neighborhood or elsewhere, or walking or whatever, if you just each day practice and work on this, we will make a difference in the society, because the truth will be elevated. People will be more clear on the issues, and we will have, I think, a better runway and a platform for us to operate well beyond November 5th. So that's what I want to share with you tonight, and I will definitely send this to those who have given me your email addresses, and I will be happy to entertain questions if we have time.